Okay, let's get going. So so what I wanted to look at is that we know that this parasha starts with as um, as Yaakov is now settled in Eretz Yisrael, and everything seems good. Everything seems fine. Like Yeshiv Yaakov Be'eretz Mugrei Avdiv Be'eretz Canaan. Yaakov is now dwelling in the home of his forefathers in Eretz Canaan, in this incredible place that he wanted to be in, where he left the difficult for him, Haran, and he's now ready. He's now ready to go into this to live his life as he wanted to live it. And that's what Rashi says. Rashi says, Bikesh Yaakov leishev b'shalva. Yaakov wanted to now leishev b'shalva. He wanted to just be in peace. He lived his whole existence has always been a battle. It's always been a time where Yaakov had to fight against Esav. He had to fight against Lavan. He had challenges here. He had challenges there. And now he's going he's living now living the dream of living in Eretz Yisrael. He's made Aliyah. And but Rashi points out that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't always make it easy for the tzaddikim. And we're never sure where the challenges are going to come in our lives. And do we make them ourselves, or does HaKadosh Baruch Hu orchestrate them? And that's a bit of a question to ask in the story of Yosef, because the story of Yosef tells us that the brothers recognized that their father had a preference for Yosef over everybody else. And because of that, they had a certain jealousy towards them, and the jealousy led to hatred, and the hatred leads to everything. So the question is, does Yaakov, I don't have an answer for this, because I just something that I thought about, is that does Yaakov create his this animosity, or does Yaakov create his existence, which he wanted to have such a pleasant, simple, just living his life, or is it orchestrated by Kodesh Baruch Hu, that's the way Yaakov is? So that's just a question that we have to ask ourselves. But either way, what happens is that Yosef definitely recognizes that he is the preferred son, and it manifests itself in the way in which he engages with his brothers. Now, it's not clear from the psukim whether Yosef was a dreamer before he had his two dreams. It seems that he was, because it says by Yosifu Od, that he had more dreams. And in those dreams that he has, the Netziv points out that he didn't have much intuition, Yosef. He didn't really get it. He didn't get that his brothers didn't like him very much. And and because of that, he carried on telling them about his dreams. And the Netziv points out that we learn from the Gemara and Brachas that when a person has dreams, you don't tell them to everybody. You tell them to your friends. You tell them to the people that care about you, that can support you, that can help you, that can work through those dreams with you to ensure that those dreams manifest themselves in the most positive way. But Yosef, is not so klug. So because he's not so klug, so he doesn't get it. And so therefore he tells his brothers all his dreams. And in telling his brothers his dreams, they just continue to add to the animosity, to the hatred, to the hurt that they have towards him. And therefore, ultimately, it results in the fail. But let's just look at the two dreams that the Torah does tell us about. Because it's in those two dreams that perhaps we're going to find a very important and fundamental thing that we need to look at. So the first dream is what? The first dream is about, Yosef says that we're all binding sheaves. And Andrew Lloyd Webber made this brilliant, because you can always remember what the dreams were, because in the songs. So they're busy binding sheaves. They're busy they're harvesting their crops. And they're harvesting their crops. And Yosef says that everybody else's produce bowed down to me, to my aluma, to my sheaf of corn, of wheat, really, not of corn. And that's the first dream. And then the second dream is about the sun and the moon and the stars bowing down. And the question Rav Soloveitchik asks, he says, hold on a second. Yosef is dreaming about something that isn't real, which is generally what a dream is. It's something aspirational, something bigger. But his context is a bit strange, because when we dream about the things that we think about. The Gemara tells us. And we know that's the reality. What happens to us during the day, we dream about certain things, we make strange connections, and we have all these weird things that happen in our dreams. But nonetheless, it's what's happening in our day. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, what were the brothers? What were Yaakov's sons involved in? And says Rav Soloveitchik very clearly that Yaakov's sons were not involved in agriculture. They were not farmers, they were shepherds. And since they were shepherds, what on earth are they busy doing in the field? Busy cutting down and harvesting crops. That wasn't their thing. Number one. Number two, what is he dreaming about? The stars and the sun and the moon and all these things up above in heaven. And so therefore, what he says is the following, that Yosef's challenge to his brothers, and this is why they had a problem with it, and it's something that is prevalent in the world. Yosef's challenge to his brothers is about change. They are shepherds, and as shepherds, that's fantastic. But that is, who else was a shepherd? Who was the first shepherd? The first shepherd is, right? Who's the first shepherd? Is Cain. Sorry, is Hevel. Hevel elevated the space of just working the land up to a man who was now beginning with animals. But the essence of what the person is grounded in the land of Israel, in Eretz Yisrael. You got to work the land. Rabbi Taylor spoke about that over Shabbos. That was what Yitzchak recognized, that to connect himself into the Sadeh, and the Sadeh is everything. The field is the space of Eretz Yisrael. And so the brothers are living in Eretz Yisrael, and what Yosef comes and he says to them is, hold on a second, we are going to be in a place we are currently in the place of living with the animals, and we need to be working in the land. We need to be in a space that is something special, where all of us are working, developing the land. And the brothers say, hold on a second, but we're shepherds. And Yosef says to them, but shepherds is what we used to be. Shepherd is the old days. Shepherd is the space of galus, that you can take whatever you go, whatever you have, and move it to wherever you need to move it. And the brothers say no. The brothers say no. That's not what we're wanting. We're wanting to hold on to that past. It's this whole idea of the Daheim. Obviously we a little bit out of Daheim already, a couple of generations. But I remember my Boba used to speak about Daheim, right? Daheim. The Daheim was how wonderful Daheim was, where yes, they were incredible Batei Midrash, but there were also pogroms, and there was no running toilets, and there was wooden houses, and there was all those things. But we have this dream of what was in the past. And Yosef is saying we need to develop the space where we are now, perhaps move out of where we are and settle ourselves. That's number one. Rav Soloveitchik also points out that he's looking to the stars, looking towards something different, technology, something bigger than just the little world in which we live in. And that's what the brothers are saying. Hold on a second. We don't want to be involved in something more than we are now. Let's just stay who we are. We don't have to be the ones to connect to the whole world through the stars. Remember when HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises that Avraham Avinu, that his children will be like the stars in the sky. So the stars in the sky doesn't reflect a number. We said from the Nativ that the stars in the sky reflect the impact that Am Yisrael can make on the world. They say, no, we're happy being who we are. But Yosef has aspirations of greatness. And he has aspirations of greatness because he's the favorite son of Yaakov. And he's been brought up to have aspirations of greatness. And so the brothers say, hold on a second. You wanting something that we don't want. We don't want to move from our shtetl world into a bigger world. We don't want to move from this world that is comfortable for us. We also want a vayeshev. We just want to just settle. And Yosef says, no, that's not who we're supposed to be. Am Yisrael has to be something greater, has to be something bigger. We have to bring Kedusha into the whole world, not only to our little space. And the brothers say to him, we're not interested in that. And because of that, Yosef pushing and dreaming about all these things, the dreams that are his to have for Am Yisrael, they have different dreams. And remember, all of this is going to be a conflict between the two kings. And the two kings are Yehuda and Yosef. But not only that, there's also the firstborn, which is Reuven. So it's Reuven and Yehuda against Yosef. But Yosef is also a firstborn. Yosef is the firstborn of Rachel. Yosef is should have been the firstborn of all the Shvatim, the firstborn of Rachel. So there's this massive conflict that's going on, is that who's going to lead and what are they going to lead to? And if we see that in the parsha in those eyes, then we can begin to understand the conflict, and we can begin to understand as the story unfolds itself, how Yosef becomes who he becomes, how Yehuda engages with him, how Reuven says what he says as all these stories unfold. And in doing that, we'll understand the parsha in a much more profound way. Wish everybody a beautiful day. God bless. Have a good week. And Bezrat Hashem, if I get a chance, I will post over the next week. But if not, then we'll continue on Friday. God bless everybody.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good trip.